Welcome back everyone to Venlo Zoo, our Dutch city zoo project. As a bit of a reminder, last time we did build a modern penguin house, and before that we did also build a modern ocelot tower. So we did a bit of a more modern approach, and today we're going to turn this parking lot area, which in the past used to be a parking lot, into another modern habitat with a bit of a Dutch influence, but I'll come to that in the episode. So stick with me, but first of all, here's a note from our sponsor of the channel, Instant Gaming. As always, you know, there you can get wonderful game keys for a good value. They do offer DLCs, pre-orders, games, whatever, and also in-game currencies, just like PlayStation money, Xbox money, whatever you desire, and you can virtually find anything in there. The link, as always, is in the description. You do help me directly with going via my link, and you'll find something cool for you. So I guess that's a win-win for everyone. So just make sure to check it out every now and then. Link, as always, in the description, and if I'm not too lazy, you'll find it to the top right as well. Okay. Let's quickly talk about the parking lot before we go into the landscaping, which you can already tell starting in the background. So, as I said earlier, for those of you who are new for this project, I don't know why you would be new, but if you just clicked on that video and you're with me now and you're wondering what the heck is this guy doing here, because Venlo Zoo is not existing in real life. That's the point. We are doing inspired by Dutch city zoos and just in general European city zoos built for Venlo, because it's rather close to me, and also, you know, just felt like that was a good idea, going for some Dutch architecture. It's pretty interesting because Dutch architecture can be rather old and nice, like with all these kind of very typical Dutch buildings, but also the Dutchies are very known for for very modern approaches. So that's a mixture we have in here. And for almost every habitat, we're going to talk a bit of the trivia, because Venlo Zoo used to be one of these shabby, kind of very dense city zoos with a lot of habitats that absolutely do not go along with any idea of conservation, I should say, or animal friendliness or whatnot. So what we're doing today is we are expanding our zoo, because that's another treat of a city zoo. They are most likely very small. So with everything you want to bring in, you either have to reiterate something existing, which we've done a couple of times. You know, we've changed our polar bear habitat into something else. We've changed the old bear, I don't want to even say habitat, like maybe the bear enclosure, I don't know, or the bear cage, I would say, into something more modern for smaller animals. So just to repurpose everything. And today we are repurposing an old parking lot. The idea about this parking lot, though, is it's not even a parking lot that was meant to be for the zoo. I'm imagining there is something else, maybe another kind of, I don't know, maybe sports facility or maybe a bigger commercial area, which used to having this parking lot over here. And we are taking over this spot and enlarging our zoo a little bit. So we are getting ever so much closer to the nearby main road that is going around our city zoo. And this is what offers us a really big space. I did say at the beginning, we are talking about the Bornean elephant, but there's also another animal in this project, in this specific case, and this is the Honeybadger, which is exactly in the center of the circle you can already see developing on screen. So I recently visited a wonderful zoo, the Biopark in Valencia. I want to quickly get a bit of a, moment to talk about that. You'll see there's going to be a cinematic tour of the Biopark on the channel in a bit. So if you're interested in that, make sure to follow the channel, because this is going to be fun. I did take some very cool cinematic shots that day, and I was not even knowing what I was expecting from this day. We literally just did that for our kids, specifically my daughter. She was very disappointed because a lot of activities that usually are in our area where we are going on holidays, most likely in Spain, because we were a little bit too early this year for tourist activities, I should say, these things were not available, so like jumping parks and like all these kind of things our daughter loves wasn't there. And so we were like, you know what, to make up for that, we're going to go for a zoo. And the only one in that heat that came, like from my online research, was the Biopark, as they said, because it's like very shady in there because of a lot of trees and stuff, I should say. But no, I gotta say, this is one of the most beautiful zoos I've ever visited. Very, very natural, very nice how all the different habitats go into each other. Sometimes you can't even distinguish which is which, and then the way they cleverly changed kind of created the natural barriers between the different habitats sometimes even seemed like as if, for example, lions and giraffes were living in the same habitat, which apparently they didn't. But it just really looked like that, and the whole savannah looks like one big area. Of course it isn't, but like I really loved it there, and also a lot of very nice theming around there, making sure that everything looks like that. They had a very nice idea of the island of Madagascar, which was very cool because you can like literally walk in there and have like the lemurs running around you, jumping around you. Very cute, very cool. So I was really positively surprised and also very inspired by that zoo. So I started building this habitat over here, which has a lot of influence from the elephant habitat, which isn't a Bornean elephant. It's the classic African elephant that you would see in Valencia, but I like the habitat a lot the way it was. The habitat there is even more layered and even more interesting to look at. They built some very cool kind of viewing spots, like on the lake even, where you're crossing over the lake on a little pier or so, without using too many mods in Planet Zoo. That isn't really easy to do, so I kind of didn't do it this way simply because I want to be as mod free as possible at the moment, to not risk anything broken in here. And also I want to share this zoo with you in a bit. So I'm going to give you a bit of an update what is going to be planned with this zoo. But yeah, I also kind of took a bit of inspiration. Some of the artificial dead trees they had over there was something really cool, and I created this in here too with like the 4 rock pieces, or like, I don't like, what is that, fiberglass kind of thing created. I've no idea how these pieces are done, but like, most likely they are using these things also in zoos to create these kind of fake trees, which they did a stellar job on those. They look very realistic, and I really loved having that. If I remember, I'm gonna put a kind of a link in here, or like a video snippet from the cinematics. Maybe I think about that, and you can see that tree in action actually. But yeah, all in all, I wanted to create this lake area here as the main viewing spot. So for this habitat, and maybe this is something I can recommend quite a lot, if you want to have habitats that look very nice and you have a specific idea in mind, try creating it almost like as if it's a scene, maybe a movie scene, or maybe kind of a facade of a stage in a theater or something like that. If you've got that one viewport you want to make look nice, take this as your center point to build the entire thing. I figured that helps a lot in making sure that your idea is translated correctly in, and then from this central point, start creating the rest around it. Okay. Speaking about start creating, I said this has been a parking lot area. Hence, the parking lot area has a parking building, obviously, because there's also, a big parking lot where the cars can park outside, but there's also that kind of parking garage. And the garage building is what we are using to be turned into the facility for the elephants. That is actually very good, because you do need quite a big facility for elephants, and you do need the chance to have a building that exists, because again, city zoo means you have a bit of a space issue, which I am absolutely aware of, and this is why we are creating this building. This is hugely inspired by another parking lot or kind of parking garage I looked at Google for in the Netherlands, and that was one of the coolest buildings I found. I'm not even sure if it's a parking lot, but I just looked for some modern buildings with some foliage on the outside, because I wanted to specifically do something like this with a bit of more ecological, eco-friendly appeal, to make sure that we make up for what has been caused in this area also in the air pollution. Parking lot with all the cars, putting their stinky stuff in the air. This area would have been polluted quite a bit from this area. So I thought it was a nice idea to have a house that actively reduces air pollution by having this outside kind of moss and stuff to the facade, and then using a bit of wood to go with a more natural material. I thought that was a good idea. You can maybe comment what you think about that. I'm trying to do this more and more often, to really bring in also these type of ideas to just, create something very, very nice in general. And yeah, I do really like that. I'm just looking at, I think it's maybe a concept even I was looking at Google. It's called the P-Suite original. I don't know. I just double checked it. I'm kind of checking that again if I find something for that. This is a parking network in Nieuwegein. Okay, is that a concept? I think it's just a concept. Parking garage suit in Nijmegen goes beyond the beaten track and is to become the greenest and most sustainable parking garage in the Netherlands. Look, how good, right? How good. So if you want to see that, I put the inspiration on screen now so you can see where this is coming from the building. And I was creating something like this and turning that over into a building. Now, as I said, I am very, very pleased with the outcome of this, not only this building, but also with the overall area. You'll see that in the real-time part. I have still a couple of open things I want to do, but there is a reason for that. I already planned out the next episode, which is going to be, well, actually, it's going to be the episode that is more or less giving me the final idea of what the zoo is delivering. I don't want to go too much into making the zoo bigger as is, so there will be a natural limitation now by fixing the overall zoo barriers now. With this habitat, this is already one of the natural barriers of the zoo. It's going to be one habitat that is all the way to the outside, and you can see the city in the background. I will have to bring in a bit more to make the city bigger. What I do have to do for that, though, is I have to change a bit of the houses that Sylph built. The problem with the houses is exactly the opposite of a problem normally, because they are too detailed and too good looking. See, the point is, I copied those things over quite a bit, and it's still insane how well the game handles that, but I'm now getting into a bit of FPS issues here, and I want to definitely make sure to not to, because I want to make the zoo be really, you know, that you guys can experience that and not have the issue of crazy kind of performance issues, which is why I will strip down some of the buildings that Sylph did and only use the super detailed ones as the first layer around the zoo, and everything that is in the background of the first layer will be just boxes, you know, brick boxes or so, with some very, very kind of basic Dutch kind of roofing or so, and then putting a couple of landmarks in the middle to just make sure that it looks like a Dutch city, and that's what I'm going with. Like this might be the best idea to do that, to kind of get the idea of Venlo. I'm just going to do some, you know, roundabouts here and there because, you know, it's the Netherlands, we need roundabouts. So that is why, just as a bit of an, and this is also why I wanted to ensure that this area isn't like the finished version, but still a very nice and decent looking version of this area, because, you know, when all things come to an end, this should be still part of the zoo, and I wanted to ensure that this all feels like it. Maybe this is the biggest mistake many people do. When the habitat is done, you know, most likely people call it a day. I do too, so that's definitely a thing. But sometimes the real nice thing is when you integrate that nicely into your zoo. This is where these areas come and shine the most. And since this is even more time, and I have already put like good to 6 to 7 hours into this build already, so I was like, okay, maybe I should bring this to an end first of all and make a very nice video out of it, which I think it is. I think today's video is very nice, you know, good ideas to where the inspiration come from, very good comparison to how it looked before and after, and we have some very cool things just like this one over here. Again, one of the things I do way too seldom, because I'm so leaning forward or leaning into making things functional, and I'm very rarely building these viewing galleries that are not functioning. See, this is a point where I'm starting to be a little sad playing Planet Zoo in comparison to Planet Coaster 2, which is by any means a bad thing. This is a testament to Planet Coaster 2 becoming finally a great game, because I was expecting this to happen way more early, but now it's starting to happen as all the pathing options are so brilliant that this specific viewing gallery over here is almost impossible to be done without mods in Planet Zoo, and even with mods it's gonna be a little bit of an issue. But in Planet Coaster 2 that would have been the most easy thing to do, just like invisible raised path, put a couple of small staircases in, boom, done. See, this is where you notice when a successor game in that franchise starts to outperform the old game, which it should have been doing way more early, but it's good to see. And I also wanted to have a bit of a a difference between the habitat for the elephant, which uses a bit more of a brighter stone, and this one, which is a bit more natural Central European for the Honeybadger. I know it doesn't need to. They both can live in both do live actually more in like jungly areas, but I still need to ensure that we are in the Netherlands. It's not a jungle, even though we are talking about climate change and so on. It's not going to go that fast, even though it's going way too fast, but it's not going to be that fast. So Yeah, maybe another little thing I didn't really think about earlier, but as I'm so used to temperate zoos, like definitely in Central Europe, I've visited quite a lot, but all these zoos having the typical kind of temperate Central European climate, so you are just very aware of it that they have mostly animals from all continents, because if they need more heat, they almost have like always a desert house. If they need more cool, they have like an Arctic house or so. And energy-wise, both of these things are pretty much easy to handle, because both of them only need half of the energy you would need in extreme areas. You know, if you create like an Arctic house in Africa, let's say, it would take up twice as much energy as both of the things in Europe. And the same goes for like if you go to like, I don't know, Finland or so, and you create like a desert house, that equally needs way more energy to maintain, and vice versa. So when we went to Biopark in Valencia, and you know, it's been 40 degrees that day, and I was wondering why they most likely only had African animals in there. And the more I thought about that, it's just like logic, you know, because you do need animals that can withstand this insane heat in the summer. Hence, they have almost like only these animals that can live in heat, apart from some aquatic animals that still were other way working. But yeah, that is also a very interesting thing, and this is what you also have to take into consideration for your zoos when you build them. Not every zoo, if you want to go for realism, can house every animal, and this is also why, for example, polar bears are double as problematic as they already are because of space demands. Also, the climate is, you know, a thing, because in European summers it's becoming, even without climate change, before even it was already problematic. So, and that definitely is another reason why zoos nowadays should avoid animals like that, or if they don't have the capabilities to build them a conservation friendly. I know it's still a stretch, you know, but you know what I mean. It's the basic idea is still not the greatest to have an animal like that, but if you can't release it in the wild and it, you know, has still some time to live, it would be nice to at least give them the best possible way to live, and that potentially wouldn't be in a zoo in Valencia. Full stop. So yeah, talking about Valencia enough, I guess, for now. Let's talk about this build. Yes, I didn't do the interior. I may actually grab some stables from the workshop and plop them in. I'm just not feeling to do the full interior of this building, because you most likely will never see it, and I want to ensure that I use my time more efficiently. I've just told you guys in a posting lately that I want to focus on quality more than on quantity, and as I don't really think that it is necessary to do the interior, because I'm not going for a super realistic build over here. My main focus on this story is the story-driven change of this old zoo into a more modern zoo, and I think so far we are delivering very nicely. I do still have a big issue, which is something I'm going to show you in the real-time part. I think I lost track a little bit of not coherency is the wrong word. I think I went a little bit too much into the modern now and need to drag myself back into some of the remainders of the old zoo, which is a perfectly fine challenge to have soon. There is no issue whatsoever. It's just like that I failed the most for modern builds lately. That's just the way it is. But now I have the feeling I want to do something with an older habitat again and repurpose that and maintaining the older build. So what we could do, for example, is to, like, you know, use an old, I don't know, puma cage, or like a panther cage, whatever, you know, or it doesn't need to be big caddy. Could also be another animal that used to live there, and put some smaller animals in. We do have quite a lot of animals that we haven't featured in this zoo that a lot of people want to see, so maybe we're going for that. I definitely wanted to build something for the newest macaque in here as well, and to make sure that we have the lion-faced macaque in here too. So that one could be a funny challenge to do. So yeah, quite a lot of ideas I still have for this project, but I still want to make sure that I'm not going too far to make it a realistic project to be finished at some point, because I have the feeling that end of next year we are transitioning into Planet Zoo 2. I'll do a video about that, because I think we have to talk about that, you know. We're doing a build for them, but it's still the elephant in the room that with the release of the latest information around Jurassic World Evolution 3, for me personally, this was the final little bit of info I needed to know that the next game is going to be Planet Zoo 2, and a couple of things that are going to happen more or less have already been confirmed with Jurassic World Evolution 3. Not officially confirmed, but it would be very stupid if it wasn't that way. Anyways, you can see some finishing details. I will have some details done in the off-screen as well, so you may notice a couple of little changes when we are having the real-time part. But I want to take you over now into the real-time part, because I think it's just as good as it can be for my voiceover now. So let's move over and have a look how it does actually look in-game. Alright, here we are in the real-time part, and there you can see an elephant already running around with a new sign in the background, as you can actually tell. There's also a new waterfall feature I've just added in. A couple of things I did off-screen. I'm not fully done with this area, as said in the voiceover, but I'm going to show you what exactly. I'm also going to show you what's going to happen with the zoo, so stick with me through this wonderful real-time part, because there's more info coming. So, there's another one storming out of the water here. So this is, as I said, this little kind of fake viewing gallery. We obviously can go up this thing with the explore mode, and look at that. There's also these kind of security thingies in front here so that the elephant doesn't come too close to ya. I mean, they're a tad bit smaller, so the risk is a little bit lower than with the African elephant would be. But also I think the size of this overall habitat comes very close to optimum when it goes with these type of elephants. Oh, there's like a little glitch here. Oh my god, haven't seen that one. Because I also did do some security fencing up here, so that's still where you can see down when there is like an elephant taking a bath. You can still have a little peek through here if you want to. You know, it would be so fun to have some fish or so to put in, like even as a VFX, because they would still live in these waters potentially. But yeah, so as we pass through, there is another viewing gallery coming up, which fulfills actually two different purposes. So you've got one over here where you can go a bit closer and you can actually see some of those. Look at that. Also, you can see that one in the distance. Oh, I love that. Look at that view. And you can clearly tell the size difference. Like, it's like the African one would easily be up here, you know? And now we've got the Bornean one, which looks almost like a pygmy. I mean, they're actually literally called pygmy elephants. So, that is definitely the case, but I still like it. It sometimes looks almost out of place, but if you go into the viewing gallery over here, you obviously get an even better view of them. And I mean, look at the habitat. I am really pleased with how that turned off. Also with like the waterfall in the center, like the tree as a feature. Really do like that. I really do like that. And if you turn around, you do get a bit of a peek into the Honeybadger habitat, which you can see also evolved a little bit from the time lapse. I did put in a couple more trees. Some of my trees I don't know when I built them in the past, but I still like them. Some custom tree models. And if you go up here, you do get some peaks. This is not fully done yet. I will clean up this side over here, clean up and put some barriers in so people don't glitch too much into these things. But just, you know, gives you just a general idea of how it's gonna work. There is like the entrance, which is gonna be hiding away. There will be a cave where only is like a little bit of an opening. I did put in some greenery already to maintain the views, but like especially this view over here is something I really wanted to have. Like you have these different types of layers, and if you don't pay too much attention, it all looks like one area, one coherent area, the sunken in way, you know, how this all turns out. And just if you climb up the hill, it becomes more evident what I'm trying to do over here. Like if you look over here, for example, you again don't really see where the guests are going. You just see that open field of animal greatness, and you know, in front of you there's like the Honeybadger area, and then behind that there's the elephants. Like playing with the different areas a little. That fence over here is also kind of wrong. Gonna change that too. But yeah, just a couple of things. And if you climb up all the hill, you will be rewarded with one of the best looks into the habitat. So that is definitely one of the absolute best views you can have to the elephant area. Like you've got the elephants here. I mean, just look at that. This is just absolutely magnificent. I really like that, how the elephant, look, it's just going into the waters, and we've got them in here just enjoying the time. And again, as I said, this is exactly what I wanted to achieve with this build. I am very pleased with the outcome, very pleased with how it goes into the whole build. And this is also the moment where we can actually fly up into the normal overview. So I'm going to go into the free look as we are right now, turn off the UI again, and here you get the full view of it. I mean, just look how this all is embedded. This part between the aquatic, semi-aquatic dome and that one over here is going to be completely changed. We are going to maybe even put an entrance into that house, because at the moment there's like a single entrance over here, so we potentially will put an entrance to the back as well. which is going to combine this area, fit in like a bit of a restaurant maybe over here. And that also leads me already to what's going on in the future, the future of this of the zoo. Now let's zoom out a little bit so you can get a better view of what the zoo is. There's still like a little testing habitat here, I don't mind that one. But as you can tell, this is our full area. You can see this is where the city is evolving. I said that earlier in the voiceover. I must change a couple of things because Sylph is like a madman. Like all these roofs over here, as you can see, individual pieces, they're custom made. That is just complete overkill. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just exchange all of these things with like normal roofs and make sure that I build a couple of these blocks as like normal ones, and then in the front I'm gonna keep these things as like a front view because they look absolutely perfectly amazing. Gonna keep them, but everything behind those, like filling in the city, will be definitely done in a different way. And gonna fill in a bit of forest here and there, just making sure that that all looks good. But then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna fill in this gap over here. Oh, actually, you know what we can do? Let me just go to the terrain paint, and then I'm gonna paint in everything that we are still going to do. So let me grab, what do we I think we're gonna grab the soil heavy. So this bit over here is going to still be built. I'm gonna put in something in here, making the city appeal a bit more. This whole thing is already the back of our park. There is nothing going to happen here. The biggest part yet to be established is definitely going to be this part over here. So that's going to become a little bit more city zoo kind of vibe. There is like a backstage area here, which we can ignore. And what I'm still going to be filling in is this bit. So these areas will receive some well-deserved and well-needed habitats, and they will all be very condensed, very not small, but they will be repurposed areas of a zoo, because you can tell that this city zoo is becoming way too spacious, if you will, and we still need to get in with an old city zoo vibe, which exactly is also the truth for this area. I must do something else with that corner over here to make it all go a little bit back into this city zoo vibe that we have started to establish in the beginning. Like if you go through here, for example, that just gives you this narrow appeal of a zoo, you know, houses and stuff plopping in immediately after each other, and then it gets too spacious, you know, kind of old stuff like that over here. This type of old viewing gallery of what used to be the only part of, you know, what is potentially for like a tiger or so. Now this then turns into a huge habitat like we did before with one big habitat, which used to be the seal habitat. You know, there's like a leftover seal statue over here, and that part over here used to be the old polar bear habitat, which you can tell by this kind of sunken area, which used to be the big pool for the polar bear. So this type of storytelling approach is something I still want to get on. Also, that old aviary we changed into something more modern, you know, like a big huge aviary out there. We changed one of the bigger old houses and turned that into this kind of semi-aquatic dome, making room for that. The old elephant and giraffe stables turning into, as you can see, the old giraffe stable turning into a dolphin sanctuary in here. The mod is currently not installed, if you're wondering. And then in here we turned a non-zoo located facility into a reptile dome, as this building is. So a couple of things like this will still be happening, and to make this entire project feel more like an old city zoo again. I mean, this building over here used to be like a round old building, which could potentially have hold, I don't know, maybe a tiger or something like that too. And then in here it turned into like a new eco-friendly penguin house, which I said earlier is, you know, energy-wise, that's something that these type of zoos in the temperate area still could deliver. And then you even have like some viewing opportunities inside of the house, which I think is very nice. And yeah, so that's what you can expect from the rest of this project. But oh boy, am I happy with this build. I think it's looking absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to hear what you're thinking about this project. Please let me know in the comments down below, as always, what you think of this project. Please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. And also, what's very important to me is, yeah, just in general, like, do you still like this series? What would you love to see in here too? What potentially could be something you need inspiration for, and what we can do maybe in the future? I'm open to doing a lot of this in here for you guys. But yeah, now we're just going to zoom out, and I want to just give you guys a big thank you for still sticking with me, making this channel the place it is. And I absolutely appreciate every single one of you. I do hope that you still take out as much inspiration as always. And if not, tell me what I can improve. I absolutely love building this one. I like the fact that I'm trying to take more time now for each thing I'm building. So hopefully you guys feel that. And if so, please consider subscribing and activating the bell. I recently got a lot of comments of people who just rejoined the channel in the last 2 weeks. I think the channel had a good, recovery when it comes to the algorithm. Don't ask me why. It literally did the same as always, but for whatever reason, sometimes the videos just pick up again. And then really a lot of people, I can easily think of 10 comments out of my head right now, that told me they wanted to watch further but never saw a video on their feed anymore, and then they rechecked and figured out they are not subscribed anymore. So what YouTube does, and it's kind of interesting, I looked into that lately, if you're subscribed, YouTube still looks into if you're watching all these videos. But I do understand some people love Planet Zoo, some Planet Coaster, some other videos, and then naturally you're not watching every Planet Zoo video if you're interested into Planet Coaster too. But if there are, like, for example, if I decide to make 3 Planet Zoo videos in a row and you don't watch all of them, YouTube then decides that even though you're subscribed, they're like, okay, you don't like this stuff anymore, so we don't put it on your feed. And the feed doesn't know that you actually like Planet Coaster more, but they say Rudy Rencampbell isn't suitable for you anymore as a channel. And that then leads to the fact that after a while, if you haven't watched, say, 10 to 15 videos, they say, okay, clean up, you're not subscribed anymore if you haven't interacted with that channel at all. It's not officially confirmed, but I've used to seeing so many people tell me this, that I was just like trying to let you know right now. And that's also the other part of the story. If you activate the bell, you ensure that every now and then there is a video in your feed. That's all. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know why I say that, to not bother you anymore in the future. And I do hope you love this video. Have a wonderful time. Have a good week, everyone. And I talk to you, as always, in the next one.